Hello, this is a recap of the live stream we just had on building a Python, Django, and Wagtail website from scratch. It was part 8 of an ongoing series. The Hangout in live stream was hosted on Codebuddies.org. Codebuddies is a global community of code learners who help each other through conversations on Slack and peer-to-peer organized study groups and virtual hangouts. There are lots of groups here covering many different topics, everything from job interview practice, Elixir, Golang, Java, Rust, JavaScript, CSS, computer science, PHP, game development, AWS. I've been working in the Python and Django study groups. There are many, many more, and most of these, or many of these have a lot of people and recent activity, so it's a great way to get involved. One of the key tools here on Codebuddies is the Hangouts, and there's about 1 or 2 Hangouts a week on average, I guess. In addition to the Hangouts, there's some other communication channels. There's a Slack channel, a community forum where I can be reached if you want to direct message me. GitHub, where I can also be reached in a couple of repositories I'm working in. There's a Codebuddies Medium and publication and YouTube video series. In this streaming series, we've been working with Python as the main programming language, Django as our web framework, and Wagtail for content management on top of that. All the code for this series can be found on GitHub under the Western Friend WF website repository. The project is a port of this live website, westernfriend.org, moving it over to the Wagtail content management framework and Django and Python ecosystem. In today's episode, we worked on this homepage layout a little bit, adding a featured articles section and fixing a missing link to the current issue, and putting everything in a Bootstrap grid. Last session we introduced Bootstrap to the project. So the current state of the homepage looks like this. The nav bar from the previous episode, so to speak. Featured articles section, which is new this week, and current issue, which now has a link to the actual issue when you click it. Let's take a look at the code real quick, and you can see the Bootstrap gives us that nice responsive grid. Before we dive into the code, actually, let me look at how the Wagtail Admin handles things. I think that's the kind of shining star here. Not only is it really easy to define the code that builds this site, I've only had to write maybe a few hundred lines of code at the most, but it's really easy to administrate the content. Wagtail makes our job real easy. So actually, here's the Wagtail admin site for the whole page, and for the whole admin page for the whole site, excuse me. What I wanted to do is edit this page. So our home page has a title and body field, and now it has this new featured articles section. What you do to add a featured article is you click that plus symbol, which is kind of hidden behind this editor, and I'll pick one new featured article, and I'll prioritize that one to number 1 per slot, perhaps, in these featured articles. So this all comes for free just by virtue of using Wagtail. Let's do that live now. Now you can see our featured articles. Now there's 3 of them, and they're in the order I picked in the back end. It's really remarkable just how simple it is to work with the admin area. Wagtail admin, and let's take a look at the code now, and I'll wrap this up. Basically, the first thing you do is in every Django app you have models, and in this case we're in the home app and the models file here, which is the wrong file here. We already had this homepage model. What we added today was a homepage featured article. The reason for that is because we're in a many-to-many relationship. What that means is that although in this specific instance we'll only ever have one home page, generally what we're going to do is feature multiple articles on the home page. And from the database standpoint, the home page, you could hypothetically create multiple home page instances. The way it's modeled, this is just a table in the database, but I've constrained it more or less. Well, not literally, but in the future I will constrain it to where you can only have one home page instance. But in any case, we're defining a many-to-many relationship. And in order to do that, we need a class or table to sit in between the two other classes or tables. And essentially, this homepage featured article class joins together the homepage, but in other words, a homepage as the parent, which we had to model, just specify the model here, with an article, which we specified by a foreign key relationship. A couple notes on the fields. These are nullable because I don't know really how to handle the defaults. So we just set them to null. Null equals true means that you don't have to provide a value, but there's no point in creating one of these instances without providing the article. On delete, when you delete either the home page or if you delete the article, this homepage featured article instance should also be deleted. Here we're adding a field panel just to allow you to select the article. It gives you that foreign key picker. If again I edit this page, in this case, since there's only a few articles, it gives us a drop down, but as you populate more articles, this will actually change the widget type. It's pretty cool. We might see that in a coming week. Here, this is a Python convention. You can define class properties, and they basically are treated like a property on the class, although they're functions that run. Means you can invoke the function without parentheses and without passing any argument. So you can use dot notation. So we could use this in the template. I'll show you in a minute. But the main thing here is, since this is an intermediary instance, I want to be able to grab a property, two properties in fact, from the article that it's linking to, without having to use too many dots in my template. So let's really quick look at how I link this to the home page and then look at the template. All we had to do is add one field to the home page, and giving it the name of the relationship. If I kind of glossed over this, but each of these has a related name. So the home page related name is featured articles. That means from the home page, when you're looking at the from the standpoint of the home page, you can say, give me the featured articles, and it says okay, and it will look it up, and it knows that featured articles refers to instances of the home page featured article class. That's what that means. So an inline panel is also interesting in Wagtail. It lets you put like a panel pointing to another model instance, and that panel, can contain all of the fields that are defined in your model instance. In this case, we only have one field. It's the article field, so it's only showing one here. But this is a really powerful tool, and it's pretty well documented in Wagtail. Won't get into too much further here. I just want to kind of keep this brief. If you want more information, I can put a link to the documentation, or else you can check out the full live stream video. This is the recap. Last, we want to add a heading, which shows up here, and help text, which shows up here, or on full width, it shows up onto the side, which is, I think, a pretty nice feature. Oops. Okay, putting that back. So let's take a look at the HTML for the home page. I'll briefly show the basic template, pointing out that everything on this isn't extending the base HTML. Everything is going inside of this content block, and basically the base HTML is our main HTML5 document, which has a container class that wraps the body content. It's also worth pointing out that the nav bar is outside of this container, and what that allows us to do when viewing home page. It allows us to have this full width nav bar, but the content is in a nice container, so you get that left and right margin. So it's pretty clean appearance. I got that tip from the blog from Vitor Freitas' tutorial series on Django, and his blog is called Simple is Better Than Complex. So shout out there. He's a really very good instructor in teaching Python Django and Bootstrap 4. Okay, so back to our code. Inside of this content block for the home page, we basically have a grid. We're using Bootstrap layout. So the grid is basically a couple of, it's really 2 rows. There's the first row, which the first row has the body. So right here on the current website, and right here on the Wagtail website at this page. We just don't have a lot of body text in there. Then the second row has 2 columns. So column number 1, column number 2. 1, 2. Featured articles is where the feature we implemented today. What it does is says from the page, grab me the featured articles. So there's that that relationship defined there, and count them. Whoa. And basically, if there's any featured article, if this is not 0, we're going to render this section on featured article, and says here's where I'm going to use the properties of 4 page featured articles. Grab them all and iterate over them, and create a link to each one of them. And I'm actually having to access the featured article dot article because it's a relationship. So each featured article is actually an instance of this homepage featured articles class, and it has an article property, which is that foreign key. That's allowing us to traverse into the article table. Now, since I'm only using 1 dot here, I'm leaving it at that. The book 2 Scoops of Django refers to a convention. I forgot to look up the convention, but where you should be only trying to use ever 1 dot. So you just 1 dot directly on your base object, and not go multiple dots over. I can't remember the name of it, but I highly recommend the book 2 Scoops of Django in any case. So what I wanted to do now is to adhere to that rule. Rather than accessing the title attribute on this article, which is actually the reference to the entity via foreign key, I want to treat this as the article and access the title directly from this homepage featured article instance. So to do that, we define 2 properties, the title property and the body property, because I want to do that with the body as well. And that just simply takes the article, reaches over and grabs the title. It's a little bit of boilerplate, but it leaves your template language your template code a lot cleaner, and it follows that best practice recommended in 2 Scoops of Django. So we define 2 of those, and we use them here and here. And now you'll notice that this featured article body, since it was inputted in a rich text field, because it's actually an article, so if we go to an article, edit that, edit this page, the body is a rich text field. Then you need to, it's advisable to pipe it into this rich text one, which will strip out dangerous code. And then on the home page, we actually want to show kind of a teaser. There we go. So the first some number of words. Django has so many template helpers and filters, it's remarkable. And one of them, for many purposes, and one of them, truncate words, HTML, was exactly what we needed here. Truncate words as opposed to truncate characters, there's both. Truncate words is nice because it's, I think, more meaningful. So if we want to maybe 30-word teaser or something like that, it automatically adds ellipses. You put the number of words you want, and this is sensitive. It said to HTML. It would not leave you dangling with a half-baked paragraph. So it did the truncation, and then it added back in that closing paragraph tag. So that's pretty nice, and stuff like that, you don't have to think about the low-level details. You can stay pretty declarative with what you want your content to look like, and most of the underlying stuff is taken care of for you. So I really appreciate the batteries included ethos of Python and Django and the user experience of the Wagtail CMS. This has just been a really nice experience for me so far. So in a nutshell, those are the additions today. In the second column, we're just showing the current issue that was added in the previous week. The main fix here is we had a link there, so I've mentioned that before, so you could navigate there by clicking. That's about it. Okay, well again, this has been a Codebuddies Hangout, and Codebuddies is a pretty active community. It's nonprofit and open source, and it's an open collective, so it's crowdsourced funding, and we're volunteer driven. In any case, I think everybody has a lot to gain by participating. Everybody's both a teacher and a learner in this community. We're kind of all, it's peer learning. So really hope to see you around codebuddies.org or any of the community channels. Okay, well thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.